Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our great customer event this year, on 2020. My name is Erland. I will be your host today. Within Relay 42, I'm responsible for spreading the word about our intelligent journey orchestration, both to the French and Norwegian markets. Before introducing Jad, who's here with us on the call today, I want to give you all some practical information. We will have someone will be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions during the session, feel free to put them there. And we've spared some time at the end to deal with those. So about our guest here, Jad Naciri, who is an aviation enthusiast. He's been leading the data initiatives within Air France and KLM digital for the past 4 years. He has a role within the Customer Data Management Program around the Customer 360 View project, followed now by a new role as the Customer Data Strategist, supporting Air France's digital marketing strategies and actions within the e-acquisition team. Hello, Jad.
Hello, everyone. Very nice to be there and to discuss a bit about what we do around the Relay 42 solution and the third-party cookies, of course.
Amazing. Given that we only have a short 30 minutes with you today, and I want to ask a lot of questions, I'll jump right into to what we have.
Yeah, sure. Fire. Shoot.
So this year, we know it's been very difficult across countries, but for our non-French participants here with us today, I was wondering if you mind explaining how the past year has unfolded. How's it all gone this year?
Yeah, sure. So maybe a bit of context. So as you can realize, I'm currently in my house. So being in a confinement period, as we call it. So we are more and more used to it. So to give a bit of insight on maybe French and European context for those who would not be familiar with it, we have experienced the first lockdown at the beginning of the year. So everything shut down, shops, traveling, anything, restaurant was completely closed. Due to the COVID-19 situation, of course. Then early September, there was some kind of reopening. So that when they tried to see whether actually we could manage the virus while being a bit more free. And we're back to a confinement period right now that will be, let's say, stops just before Christmas, so that everybody can go to their families. So yeah, it's a bit of a tense situation where we are, let's say, realizing that our flats needs to be with an office desk, for example, and that we have to be also very agile in the way of doing the work when we have this only digital link towards our colleagues, for example.
Thank you. And I can imagine with these situations happening also across the world, with countries locking up following the developments of the corona, it must have been a very challenging year for the travel industry. But so just generally, how has all these lockdowns and policies, how has it all impacted your digital marketing strategy?
Yeah, sure. But first of all, at the very first confinement, Air France, we are, let's say, an ancient airline with loyal customers for a long time. So if you had a problem, let's say, because your flight had to be canceled because of frontiers being finally closed by last minute by the countries themselves, the digital marketing team really reassembled to be sure that we could support the support team. So if you had a question, maybe it was me or one of my colleagues who answered you during this really difficult time. Then in terms of marketing actions, Air France is on more than 100 markets. So it's nearly 140 markets that we have to steer. We really had to be very agile in how we managed our digital marketing campaigns, dealing with what was actually accessible. So week after week, we were monitoring with our revenue management colleague, for example, the openings and closings of countries. And we also realized that the behavior of customer change. They were booking last minute because, of course, even us as customers, you want to have some certainty about where you can go. And things were changing from week 1 to week 2. So we had to be all as agile on the digital marketing side. So we had to be able to handle those millions of requests on one side for support. And on the other side also, we wanted to show the customer what was accessible and what opportunities were still accessible, dealing of where you are traveling to and from. So we tried to make it clear.
Okay, and in terms of, so here you mentioned it was depending on the open destinations. So did you focus your marketing activities more on retention, on acquisition, or what was your focus during this time?
Clearly, for a period of time, we were focusing on retargeting. So to make it, let's say, in the chronological order, of course, at one time we had to stop everything because clearly the first lockdown was really, really harsh and we had to cut everything. So we stopped the marketing actions because it was not the right period of time to be promoting the flying, because it was becoming very complex actually to go somewhere. When it began to be clearer that the confinement was not something new, what we tried to do was focusing on actually when we see signals from customers, let's say at the retargeting level, to be able to be there and push our offers. And then what we also did was on all the customers that we have that had an intention to fly but couldn't, unfortunately, this year, and had, for example, a voucher limited or no other option that just saying, okay, no holidays this year, unfortunately. We wanted to be there and to be able to say, okay, guys, we make it clearer. Here is what is open. So we, for example, saw a huge success for French Caribbeans, which were still open. And we tried to make it clear and also to be there in terms of prices, offers, in terms of products there, so that customers have options to actually fly somewhere in this strange context.
Indeed. Okay. And regarding, I think you briefly touched upon it. How did you reorganize your team, and how did you manage to still work together closely with the rest of your colleagues to deal with this complicated situation?
I think it was a huge promoter of rethinking the organization itself, because on a normal situation, normal context, you are foreseeing what you will do based on what you did the previous year. COVID, of course, changed everything. Behavior changed. Our customers, we saw, so making a bit of a, let's say, explanation on Air France, as you know, we are mainly focusing on long haul. That's the big deal. We have those business class, premier, economy class with champagne and so on. And with COVID, it was a focus back to domestic. People wanted to really fly. So talking domestic, it means, it's the, let's say, Air France-KLM Argo. It's everything linked to flying in your own country. So going south of France. For KLM, it would be going in another city within the Dutch frontiers. And so we had to refocus and change really fast. Okay, the demand is changing. Adapt the offer. What can we offer, actually? Let's not just push everything knowing that it is closed, of course. And in terms of team, yes, it was a bit complex at the beginning because we had and I think on all jobs, not even only in the airline industry, it was a change that everybody is at distance. But I think the digital model within Air France-KLM is working quite well, and that we were able to still manage to be there for the customers.
Great. Okay. Quickly, I will, of course, here we're talking about the future of customer journeys. So we were wondering, was there any customer journeys you had to adapt to the new situation? How was this behavior reflected?
Yeah, clearly. Journeys, first of all, for us, it's a big deal. It was the big development we wanted to have, which is steering the customer not from just an audience perspective, so a static list, to something which is really an experience going from A to B to C, depending on multiple conditions. And so for us, journeys, with this COVID-19 context, I think the main thing we could talk about is, for example, the voucher situation. The whole airline industry was facing a situation where nearly all the customers who booked something have had, unfortunately, to have a voucher or a refund. And for those who chose to have a voucher, we wanted to be able to personalize the message so that we find them potential trips they could go to. So adapting the message for those who already, actually, you don't want to just do retargeting on those people, like fly to somewhere. They want to fly somewhere. But what can we actually propose them? So in an agile way, when we were looking at both the message we send and also the offers we send, we tried to be there in terms of proposition, so adding value there, but also understanding that the customer are in this situation, and so showing it to them that we do know that they have a voucher already, and we are trying to find option with them.
Okay, so that's I guess a whole new customer journey in a way.
Yes, it is. But actually, for us, we did not intend it before COVID appeared to start our journey orchestration on those topics, but it showed really valuable to have them there.
That's great to hear. Yeah. And this, I guess, today, I mean, the session, our customer event today is about also, of course, the huge market developments which have happened. So both in terms of COVID, but also, the Miles Jones just talked about the demise of the third-party cookie. And so we also, of course, want to ask you a little bit how this has all gone in Air France and how your team is overall preparing for a world without cookies or third-party cookies.
Okay, but yeah, sure. I guess pretty much see the question. Not bragging, but I think we should already see that as Air France, we are already a first-party company. So our focus has always been to be how do we leverage our own data from our own customers through their own consent. So of course, let's not be sarcastic. Of course, we do leverage a bit of third-party data, but it's not the major focus. So for us currently, it's more, okay, thanks to all those initiatives, which by the way, we think are great for the customer privacy, but also encourages to build a long-lasting relationship in the end, because first-party data means that you encourage people and they are willing to get in a relation with you for a longer term, creating an account, for example. So for us, a bit of perspective, Air France and KLM as a group have had for a bit more than 4 years an initiative to have already what we call a customer 360 view. That's basically a homemade big data platform, which is breaking silos internally so that we get in the end to make it as an image to everyone, a timeline of what is the customer experiencing with us. So you would see in Facebook, you would see added a friend, married, had a baby. For Air France, you would see booked a ticket, called the call center, switched to a Flying Blue Gold level, had an issue with the plate and the food was maybe not the one expected, and so on and so on and so on. And so based on this, we really have a hub enabling us then within our Relay 42 solution to then steer the marketing actions with the context of the customer in mind. So in terms of third-party cookies, yes, they are vanishing, but that shall not be the priority of everyone to find a solution to counter this vanishing, but rather to say, okay, taking the example of my company, we are the biggest e-commerce in France in terms of shares. We have roughly 100 million passengers per year flying with us. And if you look at the figures, we have as on first party data level, nearly 40 million consent in terms of accounts of Air France customers that we can reach through marketing. So it's really a matter for us to say, okay, how do we go more towards enriching this data, leveraging it in a way that is helping and servicing the customer? And yeah, maybe to share, we did some quick study already. So of course, within this context, we know that third-party cookies are going to be less and less surviving within the browsers of our customers. So for me, this question has to be taken through, let's say, multiple matters. Matter one, okay, there will be less content on the website. So how do we encourage people to connect, to have an account with us, so that we do have, let's say, really a direct relation? So what is the added value for the customer to connect? The second topic we could say is, okay, there is still today some things like banners for display that rely entirely on third-party cookies. We do see initiative from some Google and Facebook, etc., to go through other way of identifying customers. And of course, we will need to be there, as all brands will be, to be able to leverage those strong identifiers. But there is also a question for us. We are there on multiple newspaper magazine online, for example. And today, to do display, you need this third-party cookie to link it to, okay, I want to bid on this person and show him something on the Le Monde magazine or any French magazine, for example. How do I do that in another, let's say, in this revolution that is going on? That's mostly a matter we cannot tackle as just us, Air France-KLM, but that is a topic for the market. Will there be an initiative of multiple publishers getting together so that we can also play in other things than just the what the GAFA will offer, which of course are important to us, but it's also a matter to know out of the diversity to build the really specific relationship we care about.
Great. And quickly, the GAFA, what do you refer to here?
Sorry, Google. GAFA maybe is a shortcut, but it's mostly Google and Facebook. Right. We're also looking with Bing, Microsoft, what is cooking. So for Google, maybe in this session you will have heard of Google Privacy Sandbox project. So there are initiatives that, like the browser itself, we'll say it with my words, will generate some kind of interest-based notions and protect the identification of the customer. And then you would rely on Google API, for example, to target people based on interest. So that's a new option that is going to pop up. We also see with both Facebook, Twitter, Google Customer Match connectors that you can now also target people based on an email, an hashed email or an hashed phone or something. Of course, having the consent of the customer at the beginning. So back to square one, you need to build this long-lasting relationship to have this. But so yes, we are looking at this, and I think overall, this will be a good change. This will. We all knew that there was some context with this technology of third-party cookies which could be abused, and we never wished to be there. And by the way, we are with you guys because we strongly believe that the position of Relay 42 dealing with first-party data is in our core values. And so we, for example, we never sell the customer data we have to a third party within the group. That's not part of our DNA.
Okay. Yeah. And so you mentioned now it will be a lot more about creating relationships with your customers and letting them or giving them the responsibility is on them to trust you, to give you their data, basically. So curious, what are your initiatives to push them towards there? That Air France is a brand which you should give your data to because your customer experience will be.
Yeah, I think that's the key. We currently have, for example, a project internally to innovate in terms of offering, so that when you have an account and you are on our website, the benefit is immediate. Like you will have the prices is no longer going to be just generic, but if you're a loyal customer, you will see beginning really at the search level. You look for a flight, you will see the benefit. Oh, okay, I already have the free luggage and I have a bundle which matches my need. So we want to be really also personalizing the offer because of course there is a digital marketing. Let's push what we want to sell now, because in the end, yes, we do want to sell at the intention, but we want to sell what the customer is expecting. And so if we can make it really clear that there is a real added value when you have your Air France account, every steward, air hostess, ground agents is going to be able to know what happened to you. If you had an issue, follow up on this, come to you in the flight. Then that the marketing actions are not just going to be generic actions, but really targeted one based on, okay, but you already flew, so no need to make an advertising, for example. And then, maybe now is a good time to propose you, thanks to this good experience you just told us you had with us, to propose you to enroll to our Flying Blue program. So it's a bit more like really understanding the context. This is something I really insist on. Understanding what is the customer, let's say, living with us, and not just focusing on our own interests, like focus on selling this, focus on selling this destination.
Okay, thank you. So looking a little bit ahead, now that we've talked about your cookieless initiatives, how you've reacted to the situation, what's cooking for Air France in 2021? Could you share some ideas on how you're preparing and just generally your initiatives for the next year?
Yeah, sure. But first of all, we have to be pragmatic with this COVID-19 situation. What is expected is that leisure travel is going to come up first. We already see it with the Christmas bookings. There was some announcement in the press that we tripled the bookings during the announcement of our French president that the Christmas holidays would be allowed, and you would be allowed to move to your family to leave it. So we already see that leisure is coming back, and it's a strong belief that we hope people will still want to, even though there will be changes thanks to this period, we still believe meeting one another, enriching yourself by another culture is something that people will seek. So maybe there will be less business travel, and that's only fair to both the environment and also the new technologies we have now to do such a webinar, for example. But I think we can still rely on thinking, okay, leisure is coming back first. For Air France, also new context, we are always supported by a communication agency. And it was 20 years that we were with one, and we just changed. So we're also looking forward to leveraging new ways of having visuals really personalized to the customers and messages. So it's also a revamp of what are the big categories of customers within Air France, and what is their key interest with us, and how do we then make it really clear to show our advantages in this, let's say, really big markets of airlines. Why shall they stick to this French airline that really loves them? Okay, what are the key arguments we should put in front? Then I think going back to cookies, I already talked a bit about it, so we'll make it short, but just to say, we have to really feel let's say, find the right way, of course, to maximize how many people accept cookies, but not just to maximize it, but to actually bring the incentive to the customer. So if you do this, then the relation we will have in terms of marketing is going to be more personalized to what you need. And then, of course, I'm not in the, let's say, philosophy of thinking that we shall just push everyone to get cookies. I think we will just accept that cookies, we have less. And as I told you, first party, okay, what is the added value of having an Air France account? How do we promote it? Important to know, Air France, we already have a global consent strategy. So everything is already, let's say, really embedded in our core system. And so it's also a matter for us to say to the customer, we are going to have a respectful relationship with you. Everything is set up. So shall you want really precisely to get this personalized relationship with us? We are happy to have it. If you don't, then only fair, please tell us, and we won't. In terms of innovation, okay, how are we going to plug more and more to email-based, phone-based connectors? Privacy sandbox of Google. Okay, that's just something, and I guess, Alan, it's the same for you. There are some news in the newspaper, but there is not really a fundamental things from Google saying we are going to do this. They have just announced, let's say, little clues of what they're going to do. And so how does it mean we go back to having a strategy on contextual level, where a bit like 20 years ago, where you were able to, okay, I see that this person is reading an article about aviation and tourism, so maybe they want to fly. I think that will be one of the leads we will have to do. And of course, in the end, we have to see how to keep our actions really focused on our own customers. So both, let's say, gathering new customers in as Air France customer, not just as a visitor of our website, for example, increasing our market share of the digital channels toward offline, and encouraging all those customers to continue to fly with us. It's been more than 80 years that people fly with us, and we hope for many, many more years.
Amazing. Yeah, so there's a lot of cool initiatives and a lot of movement within Air France for 2021.
Yes, sure. Hey, we are 85 years old, but we are still young, so we're still innovating.
Thanks to you as well.
We try. It's a teamwork, yeah, always.
Yes, and regarding, I don't know if this has been talked about, but regarding the how do you deal with collecting more IDs, because you are within tourism, right? You have tourism is a long customer journey. There's before, there's after flight, but how do you deal with connecting this entire journey?
Yeah, I think clearly we have to go towards mobile identifiers, all those matters where it's not just a cookie which is stored somewhere on the browser, but more something where you have a consent and you can gather those identifiers to connect the experience of your customer on the Air France app to the experience on the Air France website, for example. The good work at Air France is that as we did this Customer 360 view, all our customers already have a unique internal Air France identifier. Which enables us to connect all those experiences. And then I think we will have also to more and more look out to our, we really believe in second party partnerships. So not saying names, but within all the travel industry, you have car rental, you have hotels. That's a completion of the global journey, and that's an added value to the customer. So we also want to see with the Air France-KLM partners, so direct partners, if we can make some peer-to-peer agreements to be able to propose common offerings which completes one another in a more smooth way to the customer. So that's will be really, I think, the main focus. So accepting this reality of less third-party cookies, going towards more strongly identifying identifiers. So really, really beautiful phrase, but just to say, going through those user-generated identifiers rather than the brother-generated identifiers. And then, of course, relying more and more on partnership that completes the global offer of Air France.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think it looks from the chat, because we have 5 more minutes here, I wanted to take some questions, but looking at the chat, there are no questions, not that I know of. Yeah. So I guess my question to you, Jad, will you also be flying in this time? Will you be using Air France in the next coming weeks?
Yeah, so clearly I have a lot of friends who are trying to go to the French Caribbean for Christmas, because I think we all like sunshine this year. 2020 has been a mess there. Personally speaking, I will not fly because I am meeting my family south of France. So I will be just going a bit more south to see a bit of sun, I hope, and meet with my family that I did not really have a chance to be with this year. So that will be my main concern. But back to you, Alan. Are you flying a bit?
No, I will just be going back to France by bus. So that's me in a nutshell for the holiday.
Okay.
I will not get to enjoy the wonderful services of Air France, fortunately.
Yeah, next time.
Next time, when I need to go to the French Caribbeans.
I think we do have some questions for me.
Yes. What is your single greatest challenge moving into the new normal? So what will be the lasting effects in your industry, according to you?
So, of course, thanks for your question, Mathilda. I think fair to say I do not have all the answers, and everybody will have a learning curve. What clearly is something that we foresee is that the customer demands are going to change because all cards are now shifted. So what we are looking at is, okay, will the demand be changing a lot, a bit, not at all? This is coming, we can only tell with the experience of when we will really have stopping of this. So hopefully the vaccine actually would be an opener. But yeah, the signals we get as soon as there is an opening in terms of confinement rules is that we see the leisure travel and family travel coming back very fast. So I'm not really worried about this getting back, but I honestly do not have knowledge on what is going to happen. So we'll have to be agile and adapt to the changing customer demands, if need be.
Very sorry, but I think it will be very difficult to take Tim's question because it's on time right now. So as always, Jad, thank you so much for sharing your great insights about Air France and for your participation to our 2020 customer event. Super happy to have you. So next up on the program, we first have a short break of 15 minutes. And then there will be 2 more breakout sessions. One about journey orchestration and the upcoming features in our platform. And this will be held by by our product manager, Petra Becker. And then we also have the other option of how to prepare for your ID management for a cookieless world. And this presentation will be given by Richard and Tim, our solution consultants at Relay 42. Have a great rest of a session.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.